It might look like there's a huge age difference between them. In fact, there's only 5 years. Lian Han just 5 years older than Duong. One thing there was a big difference in there, though, was the quality of the lag. So Duong, a comfortable winner of that, and he will get us underway in this race to 9. Win this, and you're one away from the 64-player single elimination stage.
Yeah, and thank you everybody for joining us. This man is really fun to watch. He's a loose player. He's got a big stroke. I don't want to build him up too much because you never know what can happen, but one of my more favorite players to watch that I've just caught on to as of recent, and as you'll notice, he's got the one a bit thin. He wants to make that in the side pocket as usual.
Lian Han, 42 years of age, best known for being part of the Singapore team that got to the World Cup of Pool final around about this time 2 years ago.
Not real familiar with Lian Han. He's going to roll out. And the rules of the rollout is you got to call it. It's called a push or a rollout. He will push the cue ball anywhere he wants. It's strategically placed. And his opponent, Duong, will have the option to play it from where it lies or give it back. And he will hand it back. A lot of work to do here. This ball is makeable. Not anything wonderful for your first shot of the match, but it is makeable. The cue ball is going to get loose. He's got to use a little bit of a right ball, I would assume. He's got to contend with the 7, the 8, maybe the purple 5 down here, if he goes for it. I'm not quite sure what he was lining up with the cue there. I'm going to see how he addresses this cue ball, but you see that line that he's putting his cue on, so I'm not exactly certain if that's where he thinks he wants to play the cue ball, but I would have to assume that's what it is. Yeah, so he tried to catch that thinner, I believe, and send the cue ball down, unless he was trying to catch it thicker and send the 1 down. Hard to know, and I guess we'll never know. This man here, I remember, to Michael's point, I remember him about a month ago. He shows no emotion when he plays. You just really, you'll never see any facial expressions. Just a smooth criminal.
Just to clarify, we do not mean to imply he is in any way an actual criminal, Scott.
Thank you, Michael.
Merely a reference to a Michael Jackson song from many years ago.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and what he's looking at now is the pink 4, seeing if it clears the green 6. He can manufacture a carom if it does not. I believe it goes. Playing on 4-inch Rassens. Simono's 860. Pockets are a little more forgiving. Oh, he played the carom. Very clever. The combo carom, I guess I should say. He played the object ball off of the next ball. And guaranteed position. He's got the correct angle, Michael.
What I love about watching him is he always seems to be almost in a state of unconsciousness about it all. And I mean that in an entirely good way, because that's exactly the state of mind you want to achieve.
Yeah, it's something many players, I can assure you, are envious of. His way about the table is, without a doubt, unique and impressive. If they just kept a camera on his face, the entire time he played, I promise you, it would rarely, if ever, change.
Well, that's right, and he never seems fazed by any shot, and you see him sometimes take on really ambitious shots, get them, and not a flicker of emotion. His attitude seems to be, well, I'm out here playing in these big events, of course I should be making these shots. So he's fascinating in that way.
Yeah, you couldn't say that any better. One rail up. Just so smooth. His transition to the cue is so smooth. His motion around the table, his timing, everything is really, really good. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but the great Jeremy Jones, I think, or maybe it is Carl. Well, this man at the table is one of their favorite players to watch, and he's quickly became one of my favorites.
One of 4 Vietnamese players in the field. Very much one of the nations on the rise in the game. Well, he had the break. It came up dry. But it hasn't ended up costing him. He was quickly back in with his chance. Duong Quoc Hoang has efficiently taken care of the opening rack. Si Cha Chen has taken care of everything. And he's through after a 9-2 win over Saad Al-Dress. Could now play Joshua Filler in the next round, but that's far from certain. Filler has recovered a bit though. He's levelled now at 4-all with João Grillo of Portugal, who went on that somewhat unexpected run to the last 16 of the Spanish Open almost exactly a year ago. Sam Henderson 3-2 up on Alexa Peschel, so that's one worth really keeping an eye on. Henderson would really add to his growing reputation in the game if he was to win that match. And Ferragorst, one of the favourites for this title, a tournament he's won in the past, is underway now in the first rack against Mustafa Alnar, although Alnar is the player at the table looking to pot the 8 and the 9 to win the first rack. Duong Quoc Hoang has already won the first rack here, and that's why he's breaking in the second.
Yeah, we're going to get a good look here. He was a little thin, and he's still a little thin. He's got the 8 down, the 1 back in the identical spot it was in game number 1. Real good contact with the 9 as well. Only thing missing is the 1. He didn't get it down. He will make adjustments, and he will shoot at this.
Lian Han, 42 years of age, ranked 94th in the world. The man at the table is the world number 31.
Yeah, he's using an inside ball, mostly center with a right cue ball here. Wants to avoid the 9. Well, he's made contact with it, but it's going to work out. 2, I believe, plays past the purple 5. By his body language, it tells me it does, so he's looking where he wants to be on the 3. From this angle, the 2 passes without any problem.
As I said, he's 37 years of age, so it seems very surprising that we didn't really hear a great deal about him until a couple of years ago. He got to the last 32 of the US Open, year before last. Gave Eklund Kachi a good match there, actually. And he made single elimination in this event the same year, but it was really in early 2023 that he really started to make his mark with us, getting to the quarterfinals of this World Championship. Some very impressive results along the way. I told you about the win over Van Boning, but the round before that he'd beaten Wojciech Szewczak, very good Polish player, by 11 racks to 1. He's eventually beaten in the quarters by Wu Kunlin.
Yeah, it's funny. Even the way he carries himself, I wonder if that had anything to do with his silence over the last decade or whatever it might be. But it's funny, as good as he plays, that he's kind of snuck through the cracks going forward. He's not fooling anyone because he is definitely on the map, and this is the type of player that could win this event as well.
Well, I mentioned there a few minutes ago, he's number 31 in the world rankings. And you can actually illustrate his progress through his rankings, because at the start of last year he was 72. By the end of the year he was 45. He's already improved 14 places this year, so that in itself underlines just how quickly he's picking his way through the ranks.
Yeah, numbers don't lie. And he's picking his way through this rack quite nicely. He got pretty flat on the 3 and handled it with ease. He is a shot maker as well. Michael touched on that. He's not afraid to come with the big shot from time to time. Got a little awkward here on the 7. I believe he's going to use a little power and punch, or does he have to hold? Well, he might have to hold here and just draw back, take the cut on the 9. Might even come all the way back, knowing him. Giving it some thought. Yeah, now it looks like he might be going forward 3 rails. Big stroke there.
You know, we've not seen anything like as many break and runs as we might normally expect over the first couple of days of a World Championship. We may be about to see one here. Lian Han knew coming into this he had a really big task facing him, and he's really been reminded of it. Duong Quoc Hoang has got off to a very fine start here, and he leads by 2 racks to 0. Petri Mackinnon, who we saw in the UK Open semi-finals a few weeks ago, is on the hill at 8-4 against Abdullah Al Yusuf, who reached the last 4 of this championship the year before last. 3-all now between Alexa Pechelge and Sam Henderson. Michael Feliciano of the Philippines, he just needs a couple more against Michael Schneider. It's 7-4. And Wu Kunlin, semi-finalist last year, 3-2 down to Ali Al-Obaidli of Qatar. Mario He, semi-finalist in this championship last year, 7-3 ahead of Tim de Ruyter. Swift, impressive business so far from Duong Quoc Hoang. Looking to continue that in rack 3.
Yeah, looking to see if he makes the adjustment here. Needs to catch a little more than 1, I believe, in order to get it in that left middle. Well, there he has caught it a little bit better. Still just a fraction short. This isn't going to end good for him. And there's the replay. Just catches the lower point. The 1 easily makeable here. Position on the 2 is a challenge. He's making it look like it's tougher than I think it is. It definitely goes. He's going to have to do some work with the cue ball to get on the blue. But I could see a gap in the initial vision here on the 1 from the left side of the table, so I know it does play. It's probably a thin chop, a lot thinner than it looks, but I know it goes. It is not frozen to the point, so he's just got to catch the thin side of it. Where the cue ball finishes, I don't know. You've got to avoid contact with the black 8 as well. He's done good there. He just needs this to travel. Well, you can't ask much more than that. Very good result.
Lian Han, a player who's been competing in events on the international stage for around about 2 decades now. Started getting a few good results in them in the early 2010s, let's say. He's been to the last 32 of this World Championship a couple of times. As far back as 2013, the first of them.
Yeah, he doesn't look bad over the ball to me. Everything looks pretty good, to be honest. Notice the pink 4 down here low. Michael, you and I have touched on this a time or two. It's easy to overthink certain situations. Some players have obviously different styles than others. Some are slower paced, some are faster paced, and just get on with it. I haven't seen Toe play enough to critique his play as far as his style. But this seems pretty straightforward, and he's giving it a lot of time.
Yeah, absolutely. With Duong, I don't think you'd say he was a particularly fast player, but then he's got such a nice rhythm about him, and so even, that he's never going to get caught out by the shot clock when that comes around. And that's the way you want to be playing throughout the championship. Don't wait for the shot clock to come in to play in that fluent, positive way.
Yeah, and I hate to bring this up because I think Federgorst is going to have a great event. I think if there's one thing that Feder could ever work on, it's possibly that. I think that he's pretty much a shoo-in to make the final 16. I think this event suits his style. I think the equipment suits Feder's style. I look for him to do great. But there have been times in the past with him that he's waited for that shot clock or kind of taken his time to where that shot clock can become an issue. When you brought that up, it just kind of reminded me. I am a Federgorst fan. Don't get me wrong. I just think if there's anything he could ever work on, maybe it's time. So far, Toe making this look pretty standard.
You know, just as we were building up Federgorst there, he's gone 2-0 down now against Mustafa Alnar. And Alnar's made the one ball on the break in rack 3, so that's one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I think Federer will get comfortable. I think it does favor him that he's gotten a later round. Long way to go. Alnar can play. He isn't afraid. But right now, Lian making good work of this rack after what Duong has done to him in the last 2 games. Pretty impressive if he can finish here.
Well, this match has had a very nice high quality to it in the early stages. Now we can say that applies to both players because Lian, after being largely frozen out in the first 2 racks, got his chance here in the third, and he's taken it very effectively. So he closes to 2-1 behind. Alex Pagulayan was the winner of this championship 20 years ago this year. He's 2-0 down though against Amir Ali of Iraq. Max Lechner leading 2-0 against Masato Yoshioka. And Lechner's fellow Austrian and good friend Mario He is on the hill now at 8-3 over Tim de Ruyter. Badr Al-Awadi of Kuwait 4-2 up on the British veteran Imran Majid. Lou Reed Tang now is a 4-1 lead over Sanyan Pelovanovic. Michael Feliciano has made it to the hill at 8-4 against Michael Schneider. And it's now 5-all between Joshua Filler and João Grillo, so the Portuguese player is not letting go there.
Yeah, Federgorst just made a great hit on the other table. He's got to be feeling good coming into this event. He's definitely, not just because he's now an American player, but definitely on my top 3 list in this event. Winning the World Pool Masters. Well, that's a big feather in your cap. It's been a couple years. He's been a little quiet. At this level, it's so difficult to win, Michael.
Don't you mean a big feather in your cap?
A big feather in your cap, and
Yeah.
I'd heard you say that.
I think I said that at the finish,
and it was
didn't
pretty
I, Jeremy?
slick. Leave it to you. Leave it to you. I really liked it. Yeah, that was pretty slick. A big feather in your cap. All right, let's take a look at toes break. And now see, he's got the one a little thick. Get another look at that. And he's got some work to do here. So we're going to get a good look at what he's capable of. He's got distance. I don't know how straight he is. But you would have to think that he's going to have to come backwards if he entertains it. Not a shot you want if your life's on the line, I can promise you that. It looks pretty straightforward and pretty straight. A little quick in the final backswing. Looked pretty solid all the way through, just a little quick maybe.
As I said, Duong Quoc Hoang, one of 4 Vietnamese players in the field. The only winner so far was Hong Nam Pham, but what a win he had over the Spanish Open champion Dang Jin Hu. And he'll now play Marco Teucher, who pulled off a big upset last night, beating Carlo Biado.
Yeah, Teucher never ceases to amaze me. Just every time I've watched him play, he seems to play like perfect. Such a talented young man.
Beat Shane Van Boening in the US Open last year.
Wow, so caught a piece of the 7 on the backside with the 1. I don't know that necessarily helped. I think he was going to make the 1 regardless. Nice cue ball to get a look at the blue 2.
In terms of the other players from Vietnam in the field, Nguyen Tan was beaten heavily, 9-2 by Conrad Yasution. Still one Vietnamese player to get started, Long Duc Tien, who's playing Britain's Elliot Sanderson.
Going to get a good look at the stroke here. He's lost a little control of that. And he's a little quick there too, you'll notice. Lost a little control in the backswing. Typically very, very fluid in his transition. He should be able to manage this. He seems like the type of player that can overcome funny situations. Can he avoid the top middle pocket? Just barely. Well, made it look fairly easy. And the purple 5 does go up top.
Well, he's playing well. There's no question about it. There's been no settling in period here. He's looked very sharp from the start. Seven just wriggles in. Bit of distance to cover here with the cue ball, but should be no problem to get nice on the 9. Should still pot this, but I was hoping for something a bit more routine.
Yeah, a little weak last couple of plays. He will recover.
Nicely done. Duong Quoc Hoang leads by 3 racks to 1. Now, John Morra had his struggles early on against Albert Manis, the young Philippines player, but he's turned it around. In fact, he's just made it to the hill now at 8-7. Joshua Filler is gradually taking control of things against Zhao Grio. He's just won rack 12 to go 2 clear at 7-5 and now just needs 2 more.
Yeah, well, you mentioned the Mora match. That's a pretty fascinating match. I watched the early parts of that. John was struggling a little bit, and that Manis young man, I believe his last name is Manis, from the Philippines, what a natural young talent he is. So this would be a big win for Canada's John Morra.
Yeah, Morra knocked Jason Shaw out of this championship last year. Duong Quoc Hoang claimed arguably the biggest scalp of all in that championship, seeing off the defending champion. And he's off to a good start here this year. He leads 3-1.
He just needs to make that adjustment. Yet to make the one. But he has made the green 6. Where will this finish? 6 untouched. Goes 3 rails into the middle. And the 1 does play in the lower left corner. Cue ball looks to me like it's headed towards the black 8. He could punch past it, but doesn't want to snooker himself on the 4. 2-9 possibly available? I don't know. There is a good safe here if he wants to cinch him up behind the 8. Yeah, nicely done. Real good with the object ball as well. I'm going to make life tough on Lian Han. Elevated over the 8 if he wants to come 3 rails to the top right. I don't think he can get to this left or lower long rail on our screen now. This is not easy. Might even have to look at the 4 rail line, which would be to the top right corner pocket to the short rail. 1, 2, above the 3 to the 3rd rail, below the right side pocket and towards the 1. I don't know if the table is playing favorable for that. He would have to hit it with a lot of speed. I don't really have a telestrator here, so I don't know if my explanation was perfect or even near perfect. But he could play the shot. It opens the 1 up quite a bit, so he would go above the top left corner to the top rail. 1, 2, real tight out of that corner, just below the right side pocket, into the 3rd rail and towards the 1. It's a pretty big ball that way. This way that he's looking, boy, that 4 is a huge ball. And I don't know if you can get past the 8. Is he trying to play it to the back side of the 1? Oh, well, that's pretty slick. Pretty slick, Michael.
As acknowledged by his Vietnamese opponent. It's about as close as we've ever come to seeing a show of emotion from Duong. A bit of appreciation for
no doubt.
The shot.
Yeah, Toe took pretty good advantage there of the cloth. Knew that that 2nd rail was going to lengthen out with the cue ball. Bent it really well, so you can see some knowledge from him. looking to stop on the brown 7 here. Doesn't want the 1 to go. Did he find the gap? It's going to be okay. Looking to kick behind this. Wants to catch it pretty heavy. Hold the cue ball up there and at worst create distance. He's got a lot of cover too. Good things can happen from here. That 3 is a big ball. If he can get past it with the 1. Yeah, and I'd say his kicking abilities aren't lacking.
Lian Han, one of 2 Singaporean players in the field. The other is his World Cup final partner of 2 years ago, Lucius Yap, who came through comfortably last night and will now be playing Britain's very experienced Chris Melling in winners qualification.
Yeah, so far I'm pretty impressed with Toe. Hasn't shown me anything out of the ordinary bad. He's missed that long 1, but it was not easy. Had to pinch draw it. Definitely looks everything over.
Is if you take this long over shots on a regular basis, not only does it stop you getting rhythm going, also you can leave yourself mentally exhausted by the end if it goes close.
Yeah, it's rare that you see an elite player take this kind of time consistently anyway. But it's working out, and I believe he's played that, Michael. It's working out. I don't know if he waved to Duong, but it looked to me like he was trying to send the cue ball up in that direction and play the object ball off the 7. Pretty clever, if that's what he was trying. Going airborne here. Looks like he's got a decent gap. I would expect a good hit here at minimum.
Well, you said at minimum for a reason. He wasn't that far away from making the 1, but now he's left the chance for Lian Han to make it. Well, really, that's the sort of thing that just knocks the stuffing out of you. And now, of course, it's up to Duong to try to really ram that point home by making him pay for it. Really poor miss from Lian Han. Yeah, never easy when the ball is over the pocket like that to know what the cue ball is going to do, and it comes back out. So he's played that well to get on the 2. And he's been really gifted this chance after that dreadful miss from his opponent.
Yeah, well pointed out though, Michael. Coming out of that pocket with the cue ball like that is never easy. I don't think you could do much better than what he just did there.
And a very long third rack over on table 2 has gone the way of Mustafa Alnar, who now leads the former winner of this championship, Fedor Gorst, 3-0.
I still have faith in Gorst to get comfortable. Duong took quite a bit of time right there on that 2. He's really looked where he wanted to be on the 3 to get to the pink 4. This is where he shines. A little bit of distance. Generates a lot of power from a little position. Like, doesn't use much motion. His body's so solid. Now looking at the 4-7, I don't believe he's going to entertain that. Yeah, all ball fouls. Watch the 5. And that's the stroke I was talking about. He did get down here where he needed to be, so he'll have a good look. The 8, still a little funny, and getting to the 5 is the main goal.
Still relatively early stages here. In contrast to that, the match between John Morra and Albert Manas is almost over. But we still really don't know which way it's going to go, because that's Hill. Manas got off to a very good start. Morra turned it round to lead. It's gone the distance.
Yeah, Michael, he caught that real thick. Used a little body language, or English, I guess you should say, over here in Saudi Arabia. But got it down. He's going to use the bridge. A couple of balls he's potted in the last couple of games haven't been exactly clean. They've gone in.
And so is that purple 5 with the help of the Moosehead. And a real good chance now for 4-1, and Lian Han will find it hard to shake off the regrets of this rack if he does lose it after getting that chance on the 1 and just dribbling it towards the pocket, leaving it in the jaws.
Yeah, very nice there. He didn't want to be so straight, but the 9, so close to the corner, easily manageable. Just doesn't want to finish on the rail here. Using the side pocket, a lot of these elite players will use that gap there. More room to bridge the cue. You can elevate just a little bit, makes it easier.
This for 4-1. And Duong Quoc Hoang does indeed lead by that score. Mustafa Alnar, I told you, was 3-0 up on Fedor Gorst. Well, he still is. He was in play with a chance to win the next rack. Had a testing 2, missed it, scratched, and he's given Gorst ball in hand with a golden chance to get his first rack on the board. But plenty more winners to tell you about within the last few minutes. And among them, Michael Feliciano of the Philippines, who got to a couple of big finals last year. He's beaten Michael Schneider by 9 racks to 4. Mario He, semi-finalist last year, is also through 9-3 over Tim de Ruyter. And Petri Mäkinen, who we saw getting to the semi-finals of the UK Open just 3 weeks ago, has defeated Abdullah Al Yusuf, a former semi-finalist in this World Championship, by 9 racks to 5. Duong in control. But again, not making the one. The two looked like it might come to his rescue. And it just spun and spun and spun and refused to drop. And what's more, he's left a nice opening here. It's one that you feel the man from Singapore has got to take. Someone who has taken his chance is Albert Manas of the Philippines. The youngster has just seen it out at 9-8 in that thrilling match against the highly rated and experienced Canadian John Morra. So Manas will play Chang Yong-lin for a place in the single elimination stage. Again, taking an extraordinary amount of time over this.
Yeah, a little more than necessary in my opinion. I don't know if he's considering going into the pink right now, and that's what he's considered. So that does make a little more sense, but he's just taking a lot of time in situations that I don't know that they're warranted. Can they do more? Can that do more harm than good for a player? Like I said, I don't know his style all too well, but I just don't know too many elite players that will take the time.
It might serve you well on one particular shot or a number of shots, but over the course of a match, playing that way is bound to catch up with you.
He seems like a real tactical type of player, really wants to have everything understood before pulling the trigger. And he's going to be a bit short of the mark here. I don't know if he can just roll forward and use the gap between the 7 and 8 for the pink, or if he has to work his way all the way around, or just come out to the middle of the table and take the cut. We're going to find out soon. That's the gap I was discussing. Well, he's going to evaluate it. Okay, he's going to use the gap. Now he can either roll this ball in or try and draw below the purple 5 for the same pocket. He's not thrilled with it. But you can see motion with the hand shock to the table. I almost get the body language that he's trying not to lose instead of trying to win. Some body movement there, Michael. Turned out just fine. He doesn't seem to like this either.
As I said, he's been in the last 32 of this championship a couple of times. 2013, the first of them. A couple of years later, he got there again, and it was actually David Al-Qaidi who knocked him out and gave him a good run for his money in that one. And he's gone out in losers qualification round in both of the last 2 years. Was beaten by Janiuski last year to miss out on a final 64 spot. In fact, it's been a bit of a theme for him because back in 2022 he was beaten in losers qualification in this and the European Open and the US Open.
Well, I must be honest, from a player's standpoint, it can be difficult to play somebody at a slower pace. It can kind of lull you into a little bit of a negative mindset at times. I know Duong isn't going to go for that. And I don't think that Toe is doing it intentionally. That being said, looks like he's made life a little bit more difficult because he's covered up by the 7 now.
So Lian has been at the table for some time in this rack. Still trying to figure things out, but he's run into problems here on the 6. Well, not far away, and he's had a bit of good fortune. Nudge off the 6, taking it into the corner. So, through one thing and another, he's still at the table. Lian has got a wonderful chance here to get it back to 4-2. It's been a very eventful visit to the table, this. Duong came up dry off the break. Lian has taken an eternity, really. And a bit of good fortune on the 6, but really earned that retrospectively with a fine pot on the 7. Having taken the 8, he now has this to get back to only 2 behind.
Oddly enough, Michael, as the game has progressed, it seems he's gotten quicker. Typically, players that get to the 6, 7, 8, 9 will slow down. He's the opposite.
Quoc Hoang has played very well so far in this match. Didn't do much wrong in that rack. Almost made a ball off the break. And it was his only involvement in rack 6. Lian has taken it to get back to 2 behind at 4-2. Federgorst, winner of this championship back in 2019, was 3-0 down to Mustafa Alnar, but he has won the next rack. Elliot Sanderson, British player, 2-0 up on Long Duc Tien of Vietnam. Mieszko Fortunski, runner-up in the UK Open last month, has taken the first couple of racks off Fitim Haradinaj. Amir Ali of Iraq has a 4-2 advantage against Alex Pagulayan, the world champion of 20 years ago. Max Lechner also leading 4-2 over Masato Yoshioka. Badr Alawadi 7-4 ahead of the British veteran Imran Majid. And Lou Reed Tang, who got to the last 16 of the UK Open, has a 7-2 lead against Sanyan Pelovanovic. Ali Al-Obaidli of Qatar could be pulling off an upset. 6-3 lead over Wu Kunlin, a semi-finalist last year.
Yeah, Michael, I don't mean to interrupt you. Sam Henderson just missed an easy 8-ball to go up 6-5.
Yeah, he's playing Alexa Pechelj of Serbia right in front of us now. What's Lian done here? Well, not bad.
No, not bad at all. The 2 leads to the 3. Just come one good shot here. Wow, Purcell has missed the 8 as well. So the 8 will hang up. Sam should get these next 2 balls and take a 6-5 lead.
Yeah, a lot of excitement about the young American at the moment.
Yeah, and a big shot here for Toe. All about making the ball here. You do not want to overhit it. Hit it at a pace where the pocket will still take it. Actually, it wasn't a bad pace that he hit it. He just missed the ball, Michael.
Yeah, I think you could almost tell from the way he was lining up to it that he was going to drive it into the rail. And so, Duong Quoc quickly finds himself at the table. He's played well so far, Duong. He won the first couple of racks, the second of them with a break and run.
Yeah, I believe he can get this down. It's tight. One angle tells me he can, the next tells me he can't. Like that angle that I just saw tells me it's much tighter than it looks from a different angle. Easy to overcut this. Well, from here it looks like it doesn't have much trouble. Great look right here. And just overcut it, Michael.
Talking about Lian and his various results in recent years. More recently, he was in the last 32 of the UK Open last month. Beat Masato Yoshioka to get there and put up a good account of himself against the defending champion Eklund Kachi in the last 32 before losing 10-5. And someone who's putting up a really good account of himself is Mustafa Alnar, because he's 3 clear again against the number 2 seed Fedor Gorst. It's 4-1 there now.
Yeah, and back to this table, I can see why Toe has had some good results. I mean, he is calculated, but I don't want to harp on that. His fundamentals seem pretty solid to me. His stroke seems solid. Really kind of tells me he's got a lot of experience with the game. And he's speeding up a little bit, so maybe he's starting to get more comfortable. Needs to just come back a foot or so here. Yeah, very clean. Very clean. To be honest, I like his stroke. I think he goes through the ball very well. Bridge is rock solid. Here he goes again, evaluating. Really wants to be sure where he is with this cue ball at all times.
Yeah, and you can get a bit too caught up in perfection, can't you? Really taking it out of himself, but you have to say on balance, it's working for him at the moment.
Yeah, he was a little flinchy there on that ball. I think that's kind of an ingrained part of his game at times. And you can see it again, but it's working. He's not happy with the lack of angle he's received here. Could go forward and an inch or two, play the 8 in the lower right, or he could just come all the way down, play the 8 in the lower left. He's come up a bit short, Michael.
You're much better qualified to say than me, but I always feel that's the sort of mistake that's made by a player who isn't getting into any rhythm, and it's pretty clear why that's the case, because he's really just taking so long over everything.
Yeah, and you've got to wonder if this is his style or if he's just a little uncomfortable with the environment, being on the stream table, you know, early match, early in the event. I don't know. But to your point, it's hard to get any type of flow when you play like this. And he's overcut it. He's lost the cue ball, and he's probably going to get away with it. Well, I must interject. Sam Henderson comes with an amazing combination to go back up 7 games to 6. He's playing right in front of us. Duong, I would assume, would like to catch the top half of this 8 and try and get distance. 2 rails coming to the left long rail, as you see on your screen. A lot of times these guys will make this ball into the right corner. All depends on where he wants to come off the second rail, or if he's going directly into this ball. Yeah, I'm a little surprised that he went directly into that ball. It was real hard to get any distance there, Michael. And that's going to set up nicely for Toe to get within 1.
Well, these were starting to feel like big moments in the match already. Duong took this rack 5-2. Feel like he was comfortable again after everything Lian had thrown at him over the last couple of racks. As it is, the Singapore player is nicely on the 9 and should be only 1 behind here, which didn't look very likely not that long ago when Duong was really playing well.
Yeah, I mean, Toe did get a pretty big roll there, missed the 8 by some margin.
So for the first time in the match, Lian has won consecutive racks, and he's now only 1 behind at 4-3. Lu Ri Teng, who, as I was saying earlier, got to the last 16 of the UK Open last month, has pulled off a fine win over Sanyan Pelovanovic by 9 racks to 2, and will now play Petri Makinen. Ali Al Obaidli of Qatar, still on course perhaps for an upset, 6-3 lead over Wu Kunlin. Amir Ali now leads Alex Pagulayan 5-2. It's also 5-2 for Max Lechner over Masato Yoshioka. Vitim Haradinaj 3-2 up now on Mieszko Fortunski. And how about this? Mustafa Alnar now leads Fedor Gorst 5-1. That could be the biggest story of the round right there.
Yeah, not a good start. Not the start Gorst wants, I can tell you that. Needs to get comfortable. You mentioned it earlier, Michael. The last thing you want to do is lose an early round and have to fight your way back. It's twice the work.
Yeah, and even when you get there, if you've come through as a loser, you can be drawn against literally any of the winners. So if Gorst does find himself on the loser's side, and we have to consider that possibility now at 5-1, we could end up with a match in the last 64 that may have been the sort of lineup we might have expected for the final. Anyway, that's all some way off. Going on at the moment, it's 2-2 between Elliot Sanderson and Long Duc Tien. And Oscar Dominguez has won the first rack against Sullivan Clark, the New Zealander who got to the semi-finals of the last ranking event in Virginia just a couple of weeks ago. And the significance of that match is that the winner of it will play the winner of the match we're watching here, albeit not watching it at the moment, because the 2 players have both gone out for a short break. Duong Quoc Hoang leading Lian Han by 4 racks to 2. We will be getting into the matches on the loser side a bit later today. Players will start exiting the championship, and among the interesting matches to look at, Riku Rompain and the young Finnish player against the new American Mosconi Cup captain Skylar Woodward. Whoever loses that will be out of the World Championship. Sanyan Pelovanovic plays Abdullah Al Yusuf. As I said, got to the last 4 a couple of years ago. But probably the standout match of the first round on the loser side is Dang Jinhu against Carlo Biado. Dang, the current Spanish Open champion. Biado, a former World and US Open champion. And not surprisingly, that will be the first match on the main table in the evening session. And one of those big name players will be going out of the championship tonight.
And Sam Henderson makes a jump combination on the 9, leading 8-6.
Yeah, that's against Alexa Peychelles, who got to the semi-finals of the US Open last September. So, back here, Lian Han is breaking in a rack, which could take him level. He's 4-3 behind.
Yeah, short on the 1 again, and the cue ball is going to find its way to the top left corner. I believe the 4-9 are locked up. That will be a bit of trouble. Does the 4 play in the right middle? If it does, I believe it does. The 3 leads to it. The 6-7 lay pretty good. Look for Duong to get out here. He needs the rack removed, or at least he motioned for that.
Yeah, that's the template there that's around the balls. If you've never held one of those in your hand, it's just impossibly thin. You can't believe something can be made that's as thin as that. So some players are actually quite happy to keep playing with it still on the table. But you are entitled to have it removed if you so wish.
Well, this is a bit weak. I think he'll be okay. We haven't seen a lot of him in the last half hour or so. As Michael touched on, he was leading 4-1 and almost looked like he was going to run away with it. Well, it's been all toe for the last few games. Now made that look easy. Needs to get up for the pink 4. In this middle pocket. He needs an angle, wants a little bit of an angle to get comfortable on the 5. Pretty straightforward here. He can just come 1 rail up. Biting that the 4 does pass the 9, and I believe it does, by his body language. And if there's anything I can say, Michael, about Duong's game so far this match is he's been a little light-handed here and there, just coming up a fraction short. I'm not saying that he's short now, but felt like he could have got a little bit more out of that cue ball. Now they will remove the rack. They didn't want to there because it could have affected how those object balls laid or played, which makes sense. Wants to twist this in with an inside ball. Just hold his cue ball. Nicely done. Yeah, I think he can hold for the 6. I don't think it's an issue. Whoa, and that's the concern. He was trying to hold for the 6. A little quick again, Michael.
Well, that was the opportunity for him to really reassert himself in this match. Now he's given an opportunity to toe, to draw level, which wouldn't have looked likely not so long ago. He said we hadn't seen Duong for about half an hour, Scott. Might be another half hour before we see the end of this rack, the way Toe's been playing. But, you know, we got to be fair to him. We've talked about how this over time will grind you down, but it's generally working for him at the moment playing this way, so can't be too harsh on him.
No, I mean, I agree. We're just stating facts. It is what it is. He's not playing bad. He's just taking his time, and that can affect your opponent. And it makes me wonder, Michael, whether or not this is, and I hate to, I'm not sounding condescending, but I'm wondering if this is how some of his results have progressed in the past. Maybe, I mean, this seems to just be his style, and that can take a toll on your opponent. There's nothing wrong with it. Just don't play on a table with a shot clock. And Duong, in her vision there, stone-faced. Really no excuse to miss the combination. As To measures this out. Think he's going to go rail first here? I don't know that he needs to. The cue ball's left enough. The 7's deep enough. You're not going to miss the 7 if you catch the right part of it with a low right ball, or even the center to right part. You're going to wrap around below the left middle. Going rail first, you risk catching it a little too thick. You could lose the cue ball. You could lose it.
Yeah, you could lose it in that pocket. And that could be a very significant moment in the match now, because Duong Lian Han had a chance to make it a hat-trick of racks there, draw level, and now he's almost certainly going to lose it. And this is a bit of a gift for Duong. Re-establishes control in the match. Again, it was the case, wasn't it, Scott? Coming in and out of the jaws with the cue ball. It was unpredictable. Ultimately, it led to the scratch, and that in turn led to Duong winning the rack to lead 5-3. Extraordinary story going on table 2. Mustafa Alnar has won another rack. So he now leads Fedor Gorst, who I think would have been many people's call as favourite for this title, by 6 racks to 1.
Yeah, this is fascinating to me, and I've got to put you on the spot, Michael, but you're my man, and you are like a Rain Man in many ways. Can you give me any results from the man he's playing, Mustafa
Alnar? I can't give you anything specific, but let's come back to that in a little while. He's one of those players whose name we see at these tournaments often, but he's certainly never done anything remotely like this.
Yeah, so this is slightly unanticipated, but this is 9-ball pool. Anything can happen. This is where stars are made.
Badr Alawadi of Kuwait is on the hill now at 8-6 against Imran Majid. And Sam Henderson on the hill at 8-7 against Alexa Pechelge in that really good match that's going on right in front of us here.
Well, there's finally the adjustment we've been waiting for. He's got the 1 down for the first time in this match. He's going to get a look at the blue, too. Here's another look. That's the hit that Duong is looking for the rest of this tournament. And the 5 dresses up nice in the top right for a nice 2-5 combination. Only thing that can go wrong here is to maybe make the 2 behind the 5 due to the placement of the 3 down here by Duong. I don't see that happening. He's not going to hit it at any speed to follow it in. He's gotten a little awkward here, I believe. I think he can come 1-2 in between the 6 and the 9.
Yeah, just in terms of Alnar, I mean, he was in the last 64 of the UK last month. He's been around further than that in the US Open. And over the last year or so, he's done well in a number of the smaller world ranking events, particularly those around Europe. But as I was saying, nothing he's done really comes close to what it would mean to beat Fedor Gorst in his opening match at the World Championship. So we will continue to keep a very close eye on that one. Gorst is at the table now. With a chance to get it back to 7-2.
Oh, I love the way he played that ball. Played it real natural. Just carried it. Allowed the weight of the cue all to do the work. Anywhere but straight in here on the green 6 for Duong. Nicely done. Pretty straightforward. Just going to come off the rail a foot or so.
Talked earlier about his great run in this championship last year when he knocked out the defending champion SVB, got to the quarterfinals. Had a similar run at another major event later in the year, the Spanish Open. Lots of drama on the way. Hill finishes against Max Lechner, against Konrad Yusashin. Then he beat Sanyin Pelovanovic and was one rack away, actually, from getting to the semi-finals there before losing to the eventual runner-up, Mark Bijsterbosch. So 23 was just a wonderful, memorable year all round for him. And this has been a fairly memorable rack for him, you would have to say. So all that work from Lian Han to get back to only one behind. And now he's right back where he started from in a sense. 3 behind once again. It's 6-3 to Duong Quoc Hoang. It's gone hill in this wonderful match going on between Alexa Pechelge and Sam Henderson. So someone's going to get through there in the next few minutes. Elliot Sanderson, the British player, 4-3 up on Long Duc Tien. 1-1 in the early stages between Oscar Dominguez and New Zealand's Sullivan Clark. Fitham Haradinaj leads 4-2 over UK Open runner-up Mieszko Fortunski. The experienced Nikos Economopoulos is 4-3 down to Yaniuski. Amir Ali of Iraq has a 6-3 lead against the former world champion Alex Pagulayan. Max Lechner just needs a couple more, leading Masato Yoshioka 7-2. And Ali Al-Obaidli leads last year's semi-finalist Wu Kunlin 7-4. Badr Alawadi is the latest winner from Kuwait. He's just beaten Imran Majid by 9 racks to 6. And he'll now play Mario He for a place in the single elimination stage. Duong needs 3 more.
Yeah, Michael, and he'd like to patent the break he had last time, and that he isn't going to do. He's come short of the mark again, and this time he's going to be dry.
4th dry break from him already in this match.
Yeah, and you cannot do that in this star-studded event. You cannot do that and get past too many matches. And he knows that. I expect him to make the adjustment. If there was anything I could say to the man at the table, I really do like his game. Not picking on him by any means. But man, I feel like his pace can really hurt him. Especially playing rotation pool. A lot of these shots are pretty straightforward. There are points and times where you need to take your time and really reevaluate, but sometimes you can put yourself in a bad position doing so. He's come up short here. The cross side is pretty straightforward. He's got it down.
Lian Han, as I was saying, has been a World Cup finalist. In fact, he's been around the international scene so long, one way or another. He actually played in the first ever World Cup, which was all the way back in 2006. Had to wait 12 years to play in it again. Both times he was part of a team that went out in the first round. And then it was another 4 years before he got to play in it again. And He and Aloysius Yap went on that magic carpet ride past Qatar, Kuwait in a hill finish, Finland, and the amazing win over the USA in the semi-finals before losing the World Cup final to Spain.
Wow. That's great information. Wow.
That's what the World Cup can do, isn't it? Brings players who are very much from the supporting cast to the fore if they've the right partner. They've got to play well themselves. You can't do these things with only one player firing. You think obviously of Christoph Reinches, who won the World Cup with Germany back in 21, partnering Joshua Filler.
You can see that Toe is capable. There's no question. What gets me is he seems to speed up more towards the end of the rack, and it's typically the other way around for a lot of the guys. Wants to get out for the 6 here. Somewhere towards the center. Still got work to do. The 9 ball could cause him some issues here. Is he going to come 3 rails? Yeah, he's really bent that ball. He's got a great stroke. Got to give it to him. Goes through the ball well. And I've got to give some news real quick. Sam Henderson snookers himself on the 6 at 8 apiece, Michael.
Yeah, against Alexa Pechelch. Really, he's got to find a way out of that, because the way the balls are sitting there, I'm speaking quietly because that match is going on right in front of us. If he gives up ball in hand, more likely than not, that will be decisive in that match.
And Toe making pretty good work of this rack. And a little deceleration there. Didn't want the cue ball to end up here. This ball is missable. Yeah, and Sam made a good hit. Left the 6 wide open. Might be the end of the beginning for him, at least in this match. He will not be out of the event if Purcell's advances.
Lian Han is not going away here, is he? Dry break from Duong Quoc Hoang. Ultimately it cost him. The man from Singapore is only 2 behind once again at 6-4.
Yeah, and Michael, I can see with his style and the pace that he plays, and he plays solid when the balls are open. He kicks well. He does a lot of good things. I could see how he could be some trouble for a lot of these guys.
Well, straight out of his chair, looks keen to get on with the next rack. Just to remind you of the big story we're following going on over on table 2, where Fedor Gorst, recent World Masters winner of this title 4.5 years ago, 7-2 down to Mustafa Alnar. Okay, back to this one, 6-4 to Duong. Lian Han to break.
Yeah, and I feel like Toe's actually had the better results off the break. And as soon as I say that, he misses the 1, but the 3 does fall. With a pretty good look at the 1 and an open table.
Well, the figures back you up, because he's had 4 breaks now, and he had the scratch on his last attempt, but he's made something off the break every other time. So, significantly better ratio than the man in your picture there.
Yeah, you just like to come out. Whether he uses a second rail, I think he will. Pretty awkward here, though. Almost the 50-yard line. Notice the pink 4. Yeah, this is not straightforward. Wants to avoid the left middle. If he plays the 2 to the lower left. Problem is, if you got the 9 and 5 over there, can he hold the cue ball? Got some news to report. If you are an American fan, Sam Henderson has lost that match.
Yeah, I think really once he had left that chance on the 6 for Alexa Pechelj, it was always likely to turn out that way. So 9-8 for the young man from Serbia. He now plays Anton Raga, who played really well on this table earlier today. That will be in winners' qualification. Henderson, well, he'll be in another clash of young prospects because he'll be playing Bernie Regalario now on the loser's side.
Wow. So it doesn't really get easier here in Saudi Arabia. And what a good hit by Toe in the meantime. He is not going away. Looks like he's going to draw one rail over. Yeah, pretty good. Really starting to get a little pep in his step. You can tell he's getting more comfortable with the surroundings. It's always a good feeling as a player, no matter what the score line is.
Well, that will not be a good feeling for Lian Han. And you have to say, it is not the first time he's done something like that in this match. And you also have to say, it could actually have turned out a bit worse for him. Sitting in his chair there with that feeling that's familiar to players of all levels. Why on earth did I do that?
Agreed. Yeah, similar to earlier when he missed the 8. He kind of got away with it. And he's done the same thing here. Trying to figure out what he can do, what he can see of the 7. Know that he can see much. I wouldn't. Yeah, so it must not be frozen. He's looking to just roll up on this ball. Not terrible. As you get a good look there. He's got options. He could play the 7 up table and kind of try to draw back behind the 8. Just get up kind of like this. I don't know, actually. He's aiming a lot thinner to the 7 than I thought. You could also just chip the 7 and try and get up table and use the 9 as cover, but that's real dangerous. I think he's got to elevate Michael and just somehow get the 7 up table. Or use the 8. I don't know, it looks to me like he's hitting this real thin. Yeah, not terrible. Not great either. leaving Duong so close to his work. Expect him to do a little damage here.
Ali Alobaili, Max Lechner and Amir Ali all on the hill, so there could be more winners to report in a flurry in the next few minutes.
Looking to use the 8 here. Did he overrun it? Just a hair. If he did, it could be big, because that 9 will come into play. Hard to tell. If he didn't overrun his mark, and Toe cannot see any of the 7, he's in a bad spot. There's a better look. And an even better look. Where he's putting his cue tells me that he can see a piece of that ball. Yeah, so Duong with a slight error there. Well, I like what he did with the cue ball. Can't fault him. He's going to have to come with something pretty big here if he stays aggressive. The passive play doesn't really seem too straightforward either. Almost looked as if he was considering two-railing the 7 back up towards his chalk, trying to stun the cue ball down below the 8. Changed his mind. Yeah, he's played to overcut this. Pretty clever. And he's done very well. This is going to be hard-pressed to get out of. He's almost better. I don't know that I don't think he can even kick behind the 7. I know he can probably get a piece of it going in, as you see here. But man, almost need to rely on a bit of luck to get some cover here. Now the speed looks okay. Speed looks okay, Michael.
Yeah, I think that was one occasion where we could certainly forgive him for taking his time over it. And the outcome has elicited a congratulatory response from his opponent. So that's worked out well, and now it's Duong who's got to come up with an answer. Max Lechner is a player who seems to thrive on the very biggest events, the World Championship and the US Open. Always seems to do well in them nowadays. He's been a quarter-finalist in this championship on a couple of occasions, and he's won his first match this year, beating Masato Yoshioka of Japan by 9 racks to 2.
And he's got to make good contact with this ball. It's not going to do it.
And what a golden chance now for Lian Han to again get back to just one behind. And massive news, it seems, coming from table 2. Mustafa Alnar was leading 8-3 against Fedor Gorst, and he's just finished it out. So, surprising enough, Scott, that Alnar would beat Gorst. It's a huge upset, one of the biggest we've ever seen in the World Championship. But to do it by that score, it's incomprehensible.
Yeah, I'm a little bit lost for words. I actually really thought this event, and still, Federer's clearly not out of it, but still feel like this event suits his style. He's had great results, like you say, in the past. I'm a little bit stunned at this result. Sleep might be an issue for Federer, but he might have faced an opponent that just played better than him. It happens. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, obviously we've been watching this match, but I was keeping an eye here and there on what was happening over there, and any time I watched Alnar, he seemed to be playing very well. I'm sure we'll hear more detail on that match later from people who have been watching it a bit more closely, but Mustafa Alnar has won. He's pulled off a huge result, and he'll now go through to winner's qualification to play the winner of the match that's going on at the moment on table 12. Long Duc Tien of Vietnam leads Elliot Sanderson, the British player, by 5 racks to 4. So, back here, Lian Han, back to only one behind.
Yeah, he started out down 4-1, grinded his way back, then down 6-3, and now back again. He's consistent with the 1, fairly consistent with the 1. He's got to look at the 2. I don't believe it plays. Does the 2-9 play? Yeah, it's close. I don't know that he wants to take that chance. There is definitely a couple of defensive options here. Could play the 2 off the top of the 6, stick him behind the pink or the red. Could draw all the way back. Oh, well, he's gone at the 9, Michael, and he's got it down, and we've got a tie match.
Remarkable stuff, and that's the first time he's actually been level since the start of the match. Had a chance earlier on to draw level, didn't take it, but he's won a very swift 12th rack, and so that's 3 in a row now for Lian Han. Level at 6-all. So, let's see what's going on elsewhere. You may remember, I'm sure you will remember, we had quite a week in northwestern Spain at the World Cup of Pool last year. Ali Al Obaidli was there playing for Qatar, and he's just pulled off a really good win over Wu Kunlin, who reached the semi-finals of this championship in Poland last year. 9-4 for the Qatari player, and he will now face Michael Feliciano of the Philippines in the next round. Well, Wu faces a tough one on the loser side against Switzerland's Michael Schneider. Amir Ali of Iraq has an 8-4 lead. In fact, just as I say that, he's finished it off. What a fine win for Ali. He's beaten Alex Pagulayan, the world champion of 20 years ago, by 9 racks to 4. And Ali will now play Max Lechner in the next round.
Well, here you'll see the 1 just went long of the side, caught the point, came down, finished near the 8. and he will evaluate.
So with all those results I've just given you, only 5 matches left going on now in this opening round. The action on the loser side begins in not much more than an hour from now, so over the next few hours we'll start to see the first players exit this year's World Championship.
Yes, I'm wondering if he can catch the top side of this one. If he can catch the top side of this one and clip it thin enough, he can wrap around and get up there somewhere behind possibly the 5. He's really got to clip it thin. He's caught it too thick. So he's going to leave an opening. I don't believe there's a pocket for the 1. It's close. By Toe's reaction, tells me the 1 might play. And I think it does actually play. It's close.
The fluency with which Duong Quoc Hoang started this match, starting to feel like a distant memory now. He's only won 2 of the last 7 racks.
And the cue ball's gotten away from him a little bit here. This will be a test of his temperature. If he can get this 3 down, it'll tell us quite a bit about how he's still feeling. But he's been in the chair a lot over the last hour. Looks like he's going to the middle pocket here. Oh, never mind. He's going to drill it straight in.
And you know, when things have gone against you a bit and you've maybe lost a bit of your earlier rhythm, that's just the sort of shot that can help restore it.
And I would assume his temperature is 98.6, which is perfect. Speaking of 6, you want to avoid the 6 here. Anywhere out in the middle, he's okay. Yeah, you might have to go forward, Michael. Just a fraction shy, maybe. And he might be able to cheat it from this angle. It looks like he can draw and miss the 9. Hard to tell. So he is going to go forward. Really letting the stroke loose. He's not out of the woods yet. This is pretty flat or straight. Gonna have to go forward here and come 2 rails out, playing the 7 in the top right. Just wants to get off the rail.
Duong Quoc Hoang has never been behind in this match. Has to win this rack to keep it that way. We were talking earlier about he seems to go around in a state of unconsciousness. He doesn't get fazed by things, and I think we're seeing that come to the fore here because things have really gone against him over the last 45 minutes or so in this match. But he's looked pretty confident in how he's taken this opportunity, and surely now he's going to regain the lead. which indeed he does at 7-6. So let's see what's going on with the other matches. Yanni Uski and the very experienced Greek player Nikos Economopoulos level at 5-all. Sullivan Clark of New Zealand, who's coming off the back of that really good run in the last ranking event in the US, has a 4-1 advantage against the former Mosconi Cup player Oscar Dominguez from the US. Britain's Elliot Sanderson 6-5 up on Long Duc Tien. And a very interesting scoreline on table 7. Mieszko Fortuński was runner-up at the UK Open just a few weeks ago in Telford. He's come here, obviously, you would think, expecting another good run. But he's struggling badly in his first match, 7-3 down. In fact, it's just gone 8-3 for Fitim Haradinaj. You may remember he was the player who beat Francisco Sanchez Ruiz at the UK Open last year, just after FSR had won the World Championship and indeed the Premier League. Well, he's now representing Kosovo, and he's one rack away from going through to face the winner of that Uski Economopoulos match.
Yeah, it's got to give you an idea how good he's playing, because I would have thought, or I felt like, Mieszko Fortuński's playing some of the best pool of his career. Well, he shut him down pretty easily. And here, another dry break from Duong. He just cannot seem to get the timing down. I think he's also mishitting the 1 by some fraction.
And he's coming up dry more often than not now in this match, because that's 5 dry breaks from the 8 attempts that he's had.
Yeah, and that's pretty substantial, especially in an event like this. He knows he cannot advance very far not making a ball on the break. Typically the great players will adjust pretty quick. It's a matter of the speed and how thick and thin you catch the 1. But here we go again. Toe at the table. Hampered by the 8. Actually, by the 9 and the 7 as well. Well, and the 3. Well, he's hampered by pretty much everything down there. And he's caught this too thin. Really seemed concerned about that row of balls, the 8, 7, 9, 6, 3. But once again, has kind of been the story. He's missed a few balls and ended up okay. Not saying he's okay here. There is a bank. From this angle, it looks a lot steeper than the overhead, so it's hard to tell. I feel like he can pinch this and draw above the 5 and take the cut on the 2. Does he want to take that on? I don't know. He's only leading by 1. Does the scoreline tell you to shoot? I guess that's up to the player. You can't fault the decision. Well, he can clearly see the 1. I don't know that he can see enough to make it. 1 crashing into the 3 allowed that to happen, so a little unlucky for Duong. I did like what he had in mind.
It didn't feel early on like it was going to be this sort of match, did it? Sort of match that will be dripping with tension and mistakes creeping in. And that's how it's unfolded, and could still be some way to run.
No, it definitely didn't have that tone. Oh, he was trying to catch the back of the 3 there. Not a bad attempt. I think he had to spin that cue ball with outside just to swerve around the 6 a little, and That's what allowed the cue ball to miss the 3. So it's gone wrong. Can he hold the 1? Pretty steep. I don't know if he can hold the cue ball on the 1 here for the 2. So it continues. Well, at least played to overcut that and get back here behind the 7 and 8. He's caught it too thin. Does he play the bank to the top left corner and slow draw towards the 2? The good news about that shot is that you're going to leave distance. If you don't make the bank, the cue ball will be close to the rail. You could almost play the 2 as well, but you've got to make your mind up which one you want. Well, I don't know that he made his mind up, Michael.
I love the way we always think of David Al-Qaedi when we see someone play a length of the table bank. It's almost become known as the Al-Qaedi shot now. It's a bit like the Panenka in football. Do you know what that is, Scott?
Tell us about it.
It's when, in football, or soccer as you would call it, when a player has a penalty and just basically chips the ball down the middle, hoping the goalkeeper will dive one way or the other. And you look very silly. You look very silly if you miss it.
Yeah, of
but you look
course,
brilliant.
yes.
And it's named after a guy who did that with the winning kick in the European Championship final.
In what year?
1976.
What day?
Oh, come on now.
Well, it wouldn't take you but, what, a couple of minutes to figure that out. Wow, what a great hit this was, actually, by Duong. It wasn't easy. It's just turned into a little bit of an awkward match, Michael.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we're saying it didn't look like going this way early on, but not just because Duong was playing well. When To got in with his first chance, he looked, wouldn't say fluent, but certainly effective. But it's amazing what a big match in the World Championship and a close finish can do to things.
Wow. Okay, so he could somehow get to the top edge of that ball. Now, the 2 is deep. And the 5 going to cause some problems here. I don't know that rail first is really an option. Can he get enough of the 2 here? It looks like he's got no problem. He's quick to it. Watch the cue ball, Michael.
Oh, and that could be a huge moment, couldn't it? Because now Duong is coming to the table with ball in hand and a chance to break free from the struggle and get himself to the hill. Early on in the match, I think you would have backed him all day long to do this. Although it's still a good opportunity. I'd be far less sure of him now.
Yeah, he definitely needs this rack. Like you said, I think this is the pivot point of the match. To take an 8-6 lead. Have an opportunity at sealing the deal. One thing moving forward for Duong, if he does get out here, he better go to the drawing board and try and take a look at his break. He's been 1 for 8 making a ball on the break this match. I believe Michael mentioned a little bit ago. And that's not a good result or a good stat by any means. And he's a little out of line here. I think he can hold for the green.
Well, it's been 3 for 8, but that's still not fantastic by any means.
Okay, I think at one point he was around 1 for 8, not for sure. Now 3 for 8. He's got options here. Does he want to come around? 3 rails to the backside of the 7 for the left middle. It's going to come all the way around. Look out. See, I don't feel that he needed to do all of that. You just play it easy and play the 7 in the left middle. Don't know that he's thinking real clear at the moment. He was trying to clear the 7, come all the way around and out and play the 7 into the lower right. A little extra travel that wasn't necessary. Well, a player like Billy Thorpe might go ahead and bank at that 7 to the lower right corner. I don't know that Duong will take that on.
He has, and he's got it. And that could be another very significant moment, because this should be straightforward enough now. 8 and 9 to get to the hill. So an eventful rack. He got ball in hand. Late on, ran into a bit of bother, but made the bank shot. And this is for 8-6. Duong Quoc Hoang is 1 away from victory. Fitim Haradinaj has completed victory over Mieszko Fortunski by 9 racks to 3. I think given that Fortunski's just been in the UK Open final, on any other day we'd be talking a lot about that, but of course everything overshadowed by Fedor Gorst losing heavily to Mustafa Alnar a little earlier. So Haradinaj will now play the winner of the match that's going on between Yanni Uski and Nikos Economopoulos, the former Mosconi Cup player from Greece. It's the Finnish player leading there at the moment, 6-5. Sullivan Clark of New Zealand, 4-3 up on Oscar Dominguez. And Elliot Sanderson is leading Long Duc Tien by 7 racks to 5. Interesting thing about that, of course, is that whoever loses will have to play Fedor Gorst in losers round 1.
Michael, I wanted to bring something up. I don't know if it's in common, or if these two things have in common. Skylar Woodward, Fedor Gorst, they were both with me last week in New Orleans.
Right.
There was a major one-pocket tournament over a long period of time. Okay, it was a big format, a lot of money involved. Buffalo's Billiards in New Orleans. Well, there are different styles to these games. As much rotation pool as Fedor plays, and Skylar, it's a different stroke when you play one pocket. I'm just curious, and I'll never know, unless maybe I talk to them, if that weighed any factor on these early rounds for these two guys.
I know Carl Boyes has talked about this with Chris Melling, that sometimes he's coming into 9-ball events having played a different form of pool just before it, and he doesn't feel it's good for him. So it's a very fair point, and of course they've both lost. Good pals, those two, Skylar and Fedor. Two great guys.
Yeah, and I mean, I know Fedor isn't a huge fan of the game, right? He's made his living playing rotation, and he's a superstar of the sport. Skylar not far from him. So you just got to wonder if, you know, and I do know for a fact there are different strokes in the game. You've got to wonder if that's played a role in this first match. I know Fedor's the type of player that can get past it. I also know Skylar's the type of guy that can get past it. But I can promise you, they didn't want to come this far to lose round 1.
So Duong Quoc Hoang has returned to the arena, but now it seems his opponent has taken a bit of a breather. Well, he's back now, and he's got to win the last 3 racks. This man just needs one of them.
Yeah, and he needs to find something to work on the break. I feel like he's got to catch more of the 1. He's hit it fairly thin each time. Speed doesn't seem like it's real bad, but the 1's coming short of the side or low of the side. And just like so. I mean, this is consistent. You can't count on making another ball on the break. I'm surprised he has not made any adjustments with the placement of the cue ball or the contact point on the 1. The reason I'm saying that, Michael, is I know he's not made really any adjustments because the one continues to hit in the same place pretty much over and over and over. Looking to chip the piece of this ball here and use the 3. And a little weak again. I feel like I've seen that from him this match quite a few times.
Lian Han may be aware, of course, that Duong Quoc Hoang recently lost a race to 9 in front of the cameras from an even stronger position than this. He was 8-5 up on Shane Van Bonen in the first round of the World Masters in Germany back in April and lost 9-8.
Yeah, I like that play there. Using full coverage of the 3. Sure, the hit might be easy. It's hard to tell where everything's going to go. He's taking a look at the 6 to the lower left. Is he going to bring out the jump cue? I have noticed one thing, and you and I commentated the SVB match earlier. It seems like these players are having a little bit harder time getting airborne or clearing the object ball.
So why would that be? Is that an atmospheric thing?
I would assume. Jeremy Jones has pointed it out, and I've felt it as well. The slates are pretty cool. There is moisture here. I don't know the scientifics of it, but I would assume that's got something to do with it. He's not full ball hooked here. Probably jumping. A quarter of it, and what a hit. The 6 was cleanly struck into the lower left. Now what with the 1? Well, it does play to the lower left, I believe. Might be able to finally get a look at the power that Duong possesses.
Elliot Sanderson, incidentally, now on the hill at 8-5 against Long Duc Tien. That would be a tough match for Gorst on the loser side if he ends up facing LDT.
Yeah, and you've mentioned it numerous times. There's not going to be too many easy rounds on the one-loss side here this year. And that's that smooth transition that I talked about early in the match. We haven't seen a lot of it from him. It's just been one of those matches. A pretty good hit there. I believe he will take the 2 on to the lower right, especially due to the position of the 3. As good as we've seen Lian Han kick this match, I wouldn't want him back at the table. You come with that 1 ball like you just did, I think you've got to go with the 2.
Came here with so much reason to be confident, beat so many good players to win the Scottish Open last month in Glasgow. Was a quarter-finalist in this championship last year. He's had other good results in between. He's very much a player on the rise. He could be just moments away from getting through his first challenge of this championship.
Oh, nicely played. Needs a little hop off that rail. Well, it's ended up pretty awkward. Is he looking to back cut this? Yeah, that was a tall order, if 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 anything, Michael, I thought he might play it to the top left because he had cover down here with the 4 and 9. So I'm a little surprised at the decision. He obviously felt good over the ball, or he wouldn't have pulled the trigger. But here we go again. And Toe quickly to the table. One good shot away from getting within one game.
Yeah, and you know, 2 up with 3 to play is never anywhere near as safe as it looks, because if the guy coming from behind wins, he's then breaking in the next rack, looking to take it hill to then set up a decider in which he would again have the break. So from this position, there's still plenty of hope.
I think he's just got there, and he has.
It was like he was frozen in time for a moment, wasn't it? The anxiety there, feeling he may have hooked himself. I think he's okay. And it looks as though we will go on in this match. Indeed, we will. Duong, Quoc, Hoang battled well to get himself close to the line, but couldn't see it through in that rack. So now, only one in it at 8-7. Lian Han will be breaking, looking to take us all the way here. Janiuski is 1 away from seeing off Nikos Economopoulos. The Finn leads 8-5. 4-all between Oscar Dominguez and Sullivan Clark, and Elliot Sanderson, as I was saying, on the hill, albeit not at the table right now. Sanderson leads Long Duc Tien 8-5. And just a reminder that Dominguez-Clark match, winner of that, will play the winner of the match we're focusing on here. And if it was to turn out to be Duong and Dominguez, that would be a repeat of the Scottish Open final in Glasgow last month. Duong beat the likes of Tyler Steyer, Eklund Kachi, Ko Pin Yi in the last few rounds to get to that final before beating Dominguez. But he's still got work to do to clear his first hurdle here. Toe breaking, 8-7 down. Made the one again.
Yeah, and I think that's been a big factor in this match. The break difference. Does he take this on? I don't see him doing it. So he's looking at the line to bring the cue ball back down, chipping the 2, bringing the cue ball back down behind the 6, maybe using the 7 at the same time. He is one to measure things out. We've been seeing that. It's just his style.
Yeah, to be fair, we thought earlier on it might exhaust him by the end of the match mentally, but not sure it's turned out that way.
And so that's what he elected to do. He's done pretty well at it, I don't think. Yeah, he doesn't have anything really good to shoot at here. He's going to have to go airborne, I believe. I don't see any benefit to the left edge of the 2 if you can see it. That's what he's going to do. Going to the jump cue. Well, there is a future here, Michael. If he happened to get it down, it would probably carry some type of position to the red 3. You just get the feeling, though, that we're a long way from getting this ball down.
Well, maybe not.
Does it pass the 8?
Yeah, that's why I said maybe. Well, it looks good from there.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it passes the 8.
But is he the right side of it to run through for the 3? Well, again, that looks promising enough.
Yeah, fully agree. Actually looks perfect if he can go forward. Now he's weighing up. Is he weighing up the carom on the 3-9? Michael, we could be 2 innings or 2 shots away from a tied-up match. Who would have ever thunk it when Duong was leading 4-1 early in this match?
There's a lot to figure out here, so, you know, he's not going to do it quickly, but generally when he's been taking his time, it's worked for him.
Yeah, and come to figure out pretty early on that that's just his style and it works for him, and he's had results that you've mentioned throughout this match, and you can see why. I mean, he does play good behind it. He's misleading in a lot of ways. The position he's played here, Michael, I'm sorry, but the position he's played here tells me that he's going at the carom.
More time taken to weigh up absolutely every factor at play. Never led in the match. He's only been level once since the start of it. That was 4 racks ago at 6-all. But he's level again now. He's made the 3-9 carom. And Lian Han, quite improbably you would have to say in some respects, has taken us the distance. He will be breaking in a hill finish. And before we see that final rack, just time to update you on what's going on elsewhere. Yanni Uski and Elliot Sanderson both still looking for one more. Uski 8-5 up on Nikos Economopoulos. Sanderson leading Long Duc Tien by the same score. Sullivan Clark with his nose just in front of Oscar Dominguez now at 5 racks to 4. Well, it's become a bit more drawn out than it was at the start, but it's really been fascinating all the way, Scott.
Yeah, fascinating to say the least. I mean, I really didn't predict what's happened. I don't think you did either. We've been around this game a long time. We've seen stranger things happen, but you've got to give credit to Toe. He's held strong. He's held steady. To me, it just is kind of strange. I don't feel like it should be 8-8. And I would put him at a pretty big underdog at the beginning of this match. But hey, that's why we have a winner and a loser. And he has been much more consistent with the break. And he's got a shot on the 2, Mike.
I think he'll be absolutely delighted with how these have finished. I don't know about you, Scott, but it's just never felt like a match he was going to win, even as it was going on.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, to be frank, that was exactly what I was alluding to. It just really didn't feel that way, and I still kind of don't know how we've gotten where we're at, but we're here, and it's now. And he's got a shot to actually win this match.
Certainly been an afternoon of surprises. Biggest by far, Fedor Gorst losing to Mustafa Alnar, but Mieszko Fortunski's defeat coming off the back of his run to the final in Telford. That wasn't expected either. Alex Pagulayan losing as well against Amir Ali. I think we can add this to the list of upsets in this session, if Lian Han can see it out.
Well, the only issue I really see is the pink. He's got to maybe take a chance at going into that ball now. Uh-oh. Well, he's free and clear. Thought he might snooker himself on the 5. Thought he could naturally just go into the 4, which is nearest the 9. Looked like the angle with a little bit of an outside ball would carry him to it. Didn't want to risk it.
Playing at the pace he has played throughout the match, you would think it wouldn't be ideally suited to a deciding rack. There's a bit of figuring out to do, gives you the chance to see more problems and let negative thoughts get into your head. But then again, they always say, when the pressure's at its greatest and the stakes at their highest, play to your natural rhythm. And for him, that's what this is.
Yes, he doing what I believe he's doing. Okay, he's going to go into him. Well, it could have been a lot worse. He's got an opportunity here. Everything looks pretty clean. The stroke, the delivery, the body movement.
Yeah, well, that was a bit of a tester, really, that shot, and you would have to say. The shots he may still have to come through here. None of them might be as testing as that one, so what an opportunity for him.
Caught it a little thick. He's going to be all right. And I would say, Michael, this is a big upset if he can get these 4 balls down.
Yeah, and not just because Duong has come on so far in the game since the start of last year, but he was coming in here in very good form. That Scottish Open win was only a few weeks ago. He had to beat so many good players. Played well against Shane Van Bonen in the World Masters, just got overtaken on the line in their match. But then Lian Han has not been without his recent form. As I said, he was in the last 32 of the UK Open just a few weeks ago. If he does finish it out here, you would have to say the last part of this match, he's produced probably the best play we've seen from either of them at any stage of the contest.
Yeah, Michael. Pretty fascinating match in many different ways. He's 2 balls away from a pretty solid performance and a pretty big upset. I believe the break is what's really cost Duong this match. He never adjusted, and the result is right in front of us.
And it looks like it's going to be a break and run to finish. Lian Han has never led at any stage of this contest. He does now at the decisive time. He was 4-1 down, but he hung in and has somehow carved out a 9-8 win over the informed Duong Quoc Hoang. To Lian Han, former World Cup finalist with Singapore, is the winner by 9 racks to 8. One more result to give you that's come in the last few minutes. Jan Juski has got a fine win over Nikos Economopoulos by 9 racks to 5. Still a couple of matches going on. Oscar Dominguez and Sullivan Clark level at 5-all. Elliot Sanderson is leading Longduck TN 8-6, although that one looks like it's about to go 8-7. Play will continue in front of the cameras in about half an hour from now as we move into the loser side of the draw. For now, it's congratulations to To Lian Han, and bye-bye.